All right, all right. How y'all doing today? My name is Craig, Mr. Taper Logan. I am with Barbers Only Magazine. Today's class is classic fades versus drop fades. Turn down just a little bit. Um, as we know, or you might not know, a classic ball fade is a fade where the sides are bald or skint. And I'm going to go through that today. I'm not going to do too much talking. I'm going to do a lot of instructing. Little background about me. I've been a master barber for a long time. I first started working in a barber shop in 1989, and I was terrified, okay? And here I am. I'm still cutting in the shop. I still enjoy barbering, and I still enjoy teaching. We formed, me and my partner and another partner, we formed Barbers Only Magazine in 2002. And it was a publication which was dedicated to barbershop culture. We went from '02 to 2015 and we stopped. But now we're back at it. We have a podcast, Mr. Taper's Barber Life on YouTube. We are still on Instagram, Barbers Only Magazine. And we are going to get this thing rolling once again. Mr. Taper's Barber Life on YouTube. Okay. My partner Vinny, I'll let him introduce himself to you, Mr. V.
Yes, I spoke with some of you earlier. We've been, coming to these hair shows for a long time, and been able to see the changes in the shows, especially when it comes to the barbers. So we're happy to be a part of that, getting back into the game, participating in the growth of the industry. I know a lot of stuff we see now is YouTube this and YouTube that, and everybody's it's a lot of individual stuff going on. What I'm doing, how I'm cutting, how much money I'm making, and all of that. And that's fine. But we like to just kind of keep people informed on the basics, the culture, what it really means to be a barber, how to really make the impact on your community. And it does start behind the chair, but it can go outside the chair. So I'm Vinny Vino. I got my license under Craig when I was in high school, and he was the first guy told me I could get my license when I was in high school. I didn't know you could get no license before you graduate, but very experienced guy. I've been blessed to be on this journey with him, and we're here to help continue to make the culture grow.
All right. By show of hands, how many student barbers or beginning barbers? Okay, good. Any stylists? Okay, great. One thing about being a stylist, if you can incorporate barbering into your repertoire, your potential is great as a barber. One thing I wish they would have these classes when I was coming up as a young barber. I just had to watch barbers cut, like go to a barber shop and sneak in the window and look, and then they would look at me and I'd have to act like I wasn't looking and they'd get mad. But you guys have it good now. Okay, let's start out with our tools the classic fade, classic ball fade. We know skin on the sides. The top could be anywhere from a 1.5 or 2 or 3. The lengths vary, okay? But a drop fade is the line of demarcation does not stay at an even length. It actually goes under the occipital bone, okay? Everybody who went to barber school, you know what occipital bone is, correct? Okay, so the drop fade, which is very popular now, a lot of clients, they want that fade, that fade line to start low, and Vinny is going to show you that, but I'm going to show you the classic ball fade. As far as our tools, I like to use the Oyster Detachable. This is the Oyster Octane. I picked this back up a couple of years ago. Well, I picked this back up a couple of months ago. I sat it down for about 3 years. I don't know why. I was just trying different clippers, and I forgot how powerful this clipper is. It it cuts my time down, and it's just so powerful when fading. This is the Oyster Octane. My MV, well, my MVP sort of is my uh, 50 caliber. My 50 caliber. This is one of my. It's by Caliber Beauty. I love it because it has a real good fade blade, and the battery life is super long on this one. Of course, they've taken over the industry, but my Babyliss trimmer. Okay, if you've been in this game for at least 10 years, you know 10 years ago there was no Babyliss. Now they came in and they have taken over. Right, right. And this is my workhorse, my Babyliss trimmer. Uh, well, for my oysters, yes. In fact, if you are going to start using detachable blades, these 6 blades what I recommend you to get: a 5.0, a 3.0, an OA, a one blade, a 1A, and a 1.5. Those, right. You know what? I don't use that blade, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I haven't found a good use for it because with these 6 blades on a detachable, I can do basically any cut with those, and it doesn't matter the hair texture style. It could be black, Latino, white. With those 6 blades, I can do any cut. To be honest with you.
A whole lot on the one-on-one 'cause we can go all day on just clippers and stuff in general. But uh, that blade you're talking about is specific to hair, pulling the hair away from the scalp. So it's almost like like if you're using shears, that blade acts like a shear because if you try to use it with standard cutting, it won't cut right. So you want to use that almost like if you're doing shaping. It's like a shaping blade. But were you talking about trimmers? You were talking about trimmers, not actual clippers. Yeah.
Oh, well, yeah. Well, the trimmers, the blade comes set. And one thing what I like about the Babyliss is you don't have to zero gap them. And if you don't know what zero gap is when you take this bottom blade and you make it, you push it up, but not overlapping the top blade. It's almost even with the top blade, and that's called zero gapping, and that's when you get the sharpest, crispiest shape up line with that. So
The teeth on the blades, like you have your standard, say your Andy's outliner. It's not a T style, it's just a square looking one. Then you have the T, and then you have the wide tooth blades. And you have the smaller ones. So when you look at the teeth, it's not as many. It's more teeth on those, and then you have the ones that's not as many teeth. The difference is the ones that have wider teeth, they cut more like a surgical blade, kind of like how I was talking about with the when you have certain blades that they don't drag. It's less drag. So if you see like wider teeth, it's going to cut straight across like zero. It's like the 90 degree. The angle is coming in like a razor. Okay, when it's small, when it's more teeth, you can actually move that. So you can move that, slide that across, and shape it in a way that you're sliding. So that may help you out when you're trying to figure out which clipper. If you have a clipper that's really powerful if you put that wider teeth blade on there, it's going to be really, really sharp because the clipper that's powerful is already going to bring a lot of weight to that blade. So if you put a blade on there that has wider teeth, you want to use that really light because if you go in, like especially if you're in beginning times, you stay on one side trying to make sure that thing get right. But if you use that kind of blade on and on the skin a lot, you're going to see the redness pop up. So be careful with those.
Okay, and my last trimmer that I use is my X Factor. This is a 4 MAS trimmer, 4 MAS. I call it my X Factor because it's a little small company out in Virginia. A lot of people don't know about it, but this trimmer, I will put it up against any trimmer out there. It is super duper sharp, and it only costs $80. I've bought 3 of them just to have. Okay, it's 4, the number 4 MAS. Yes. Yeah, just 4 MAS, 4, the number 4 MAS. These, they are super sharp. And I discovered them because a barber named Buff the Barber, Buff, he endorsed them, and I tried them, and I just could not believe how sharp those trimmers are. So I will get the. In fact, I think they have a booth here. I think so. Let them know that I told you about them. Okay, I don't know why I brought this, but I have my little pick. I have my barber comb, 7-inch comb, and I have my razor holder. This is my Boss Barber razor holder. If you guys follow Al's Millions on Instagram, ALS Millions, he makes a very good razor holder. And not to leave my buddies out, I use the wall shaver. So I represent with everybody. Let's see. Damn, I don't have my Andes. Okay. Well, my setup at the shop, I have 10 clippers. So this is my my travel set. Okay, Mr. Jamel, have a seat, sir. Jamel is one of our longtime models. Give that gentleman a hand. Okay. Like I said, I am going to be demonstrating a classic ball fade. Hold it up just like that. Okay. We're going to do it just like they teach you in barber school. The barber cape does not touch the neck. Okay. Next strip. You guys remember this for my veteran barbers? You remember this? Okay. And then we take the next strip and we put it over the cape. Just like in barber school. Okay. Another reason why I like these octanes is I could do a ball fade on him about 12 minutes if I wanted to. And it would be perfect. So, but of course I'm not going to go that fast today. So the first thing you want to do, this is a classic ball fade, classic skin fade. You want to analyze the scalp, comb it out. Okay, you're looking for any skin irritations, scalp irritations. Looks good. Okay. So our first line of demarcation is going to be right there. Oh, this is the 5-0. Yeah. Let him hold it.
One of the big differences when you're trying to achieve that look you're looking for is the way you adjust those clippers. Sometimes, I mean, they got all kind of stuff now. You can go online, you can send them off, you can find your clipper guy around town that, has the equipment to zero gap everything, and you can do it yourself. But the 5 is the closed taper, basically. And if you open that taper, that's like more like a 3. It's kind of like a 2 or 3. Yes. It'd be about as close as you can get to the trimmer without using the trimmer. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I made my first line of demarcation on the left side. I'm going to clean it up with my trimmers in a minute. But what I'm doing, going from here straight like that. You want to give yourself a little room from the top of the hairline and your line of demarcation. If you go too high, it's a high and tight. Most clients, unless they're in the military, they don't want a high and tight. So you want to give yourself enough room. Okay?
One note, too, I'll throw in. On the classic ball fade, you'll notice there is no line. So you're not going to be shaping up on the taper area. Well, like, see how mine have a shape up right here? When you're doing that ball fade, this is going to be completely gone on most ball fades. And if, like he said, on a high and tight, you're barely even going to see a line here on a high and tight. A high and tight, this middle part is pretty much gone too. All of this is bald on the side. And your main line is just going to be the line going across the top. So those are kind of some key differences with the drop fade, the classic fade, and the high and tight. The drop fade, you're going to have a line here. You're going to be able to shape up your client and get a full point on a drop fade. The fade going to be behind the point. Standard fade, ball fade, no line here. High and tight, line only really here and a little bit on the side, really light on the side.
Okay. It's kind of tricky shaping this up so you can see it, but I'm trying to match this side with this side. The classic fade, that line of demarcation is going to be a little bit over the occipital bone.
A lot of barber terminology you'll hear, man, you left a line in that fade. You left a line in that cut. That's because the length of the hair stands out to the eye, and it hangs over the lower length of the opposite or the adjacent part of this the part of this scalp that you're cutting. So to blend it, you want to make sure you're creating a smooth length, like where your lengths connect and they're not standing out apart from another to the eye. Because if you put stuff under a microscope, everybody gonna have lines. All you're trying to do is get it to where when you see it, it looks like a clean, smooth transition.
Okay. Now, if you notice, Notice how I did my line of demarcation. Okay? I went here, then I dropped just a little bit. Now, when you do the ball fade, when you do the drop fade, that line of demarcation is going to be here. Okay? All right, so now I'm going to clean it up with my trimmers. Now, I know a lot of barbers, you see them on YouTube, they leave hair around, around the ears and everything, and they clean it up at the end. Since I am old school, I like to clean it up right after I cut it. Any questions while we working? Feel free. Right. That's the difference. A drop fade, the line of demarcation is lower. That's all.
The shape of the head, the skull. You know, if they got a nice little hunk back there, you might not want to go over the top of that hunk because the hunk gonna be sticking out naked. But and it still could be a classic fade style, not a drop, but the head is naturally dropped the way the scalp is, and then you'll see some people it sits high, the crown sits a little higher, so you can go higher than that and still achieve the look you want. It's all in your preference after you get the kind of cutting and seeing what style you like, how you like to do it, but you can't go higher than that even on the standard. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. How long is the length on top? Um, you know, thinning shears. Thinning shears because when it's like that, the hair sometimes you might blend it perfectly, but the hair still sticks out. You know what I'm saying? And you can't lay it down. And if you go across it and try to trim it with your clippers, you're going to take it too low. So you got to get those thinning shears so it takes the bulk out without actually cutting the hair down. That's going to be the tool you need for that. The thinning shears. It's like the shears that have the comb on it. One end is the blade, one end is the comb. That's what you're gonna need on her. Yeah. Cause how low is she having it on the side? Bald on the side. Yep. Yeah. 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 You're gonna have to taper her. Yeah. You're gonna have to taper her. I'm gonna say shear over comb on that. And you can get some of the bigger guards, but you're still gonna have that little like a line right there because it's bald. So you're gonna have to get the comb, pull her hair out, slide over the comb, and you can keep going down until you reach the level. Get closer and closer until you reach that level that you want. But I want to take it high.
Yes, sir. Mid fade or regular fade. Yeah. Yes, sir. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, and once again, they say there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to fade. So I'm going to show you one way. I'm going to line up. I'm going to give my client a light line just so I will know where my line of demarcations meet at, where I can check. And I normally cut with gloves, so you might have seen me put them on. So not these gloves, but this is all I had. So anybody here cut with gloves? You do? Okay. It's a habit I started years ago, and I really can't cut without them now. So, yeah. When I'm lining up, I start in the middle, then you either go to the right or the left. You don't start here. You don't start there. You start in the middle, then you go to the right or left.
You're going to see a lot of people cut different ways, right? But what he's teaching is the fundamentals. You know, once you get in your groove, sometimes you'll have a client. They might have receding hairline. They might have hairline touching their eyebrows. You cut them so many times, you can pretty much, you know how to cut it without starting on either point, either side. But if you have a new client, this is where what he said comes into play, because if you locked in on one side, just say you fading this side and you start lining up over here, you're assuming that his hairline is even or her hairline is even. So you start shaping this side up like it's an even point. But then when you get to the other side, you'll notice that line you had was going this way or down because you didn't check the different. Nobody's head is perfect. Some people got, you know, the left side of their scalp or their temper sits a little higher. Like if they put their shades on, part of the shades hanging off the ear on one side, and it's not even. So it's the same way when you cutting their hair. So if you start in the middle, that'll give you a little bit more balance to see, okay, all right, I need to take a little light on this side, or I need to go a little harder on this side, you know. If you start with the strong side. So the middle is usually the strongest part of anybody's hairline. You know, especially if you're losing it, you're gonna lose them in the corners first, and then the middle is gonna be a little bit more solid. So you start in the middle, and then you'll see if it's strong across the front. Then that's great because it's easy. That's why when you see barbers doing competitions, they get the models. They got the hairline is it's easy to go straight across. But like I said, everybody ain't like that. So I would say focus on the strong sides first, but take notes of the lighter side so you'll know how you got to balance it out toward the end.
Okay. Now, our corners. You want to form a right angle. A right angle or a L. That is the correct way how to do your corner. A right angle or an L when you do your corners. You can use the eyebrow as a reference point, but I'm kind of used to just lining it up without the eyebrow. But yes, you can use the eyebrow as a reference point, and you want to tap right there. Barbers get in trouble when they don't really make a right angle. They go way back. It's not good. We all know going back is bad. So you want to keep it on the outside as much as you can, because you are going to have to take it back just a little bit. That's okay. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
As you notice, he has. I notice a lot of beginning barbers when they're shaping up, they're going into the angle with with the using too much of their arm. You see, when you do that, you give yourself a more of a chance for that clipper to slide. Okay, and you can take that hairline a little bit further than you probably wanted to, and there's no way to take that back. It just got to grow back. But if you notice, he's resting his forefinger on the scalp, on the forehead, and he's just using his wrist. He's mainly tilting his wrist like this. He's not going in with his arm and pushing it in like that. What you want to do is find you a spot when you holding that clipper where you can kind of rest your finger on that forehead and then just kind of tap around till you get the angle you want. That's it. You letting the clipper do the work. That's what we got to learn to do. These clippers cost $200. I don't need to be doing this. You know what I'm saying? Nah, that clipper is built to do exactly what it does. When it touches it, it should be cutting. If it's not cutting, it needs to be maintenance. It needs to be adjusted to cut to your liking. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah. You know what? We all do. I'm telling you, we all do. There is and it's almost like it ain't just no way to say this is the way. Like for me, I do have some clippers like you have some clippers you can get that have a small blade on it. Like these. You'll see some clippers they have a small blade. You can go right in there and get that look. Other than that, what you're gonna have to learn how to do is take that corner and slide down to where you can achieve that look and clean up around that. Because you basically, essentially, sometimes the client that has the smaller foreheads, you're creating that line for them. Because their line, where their natural line is, probably ain't the one that they want. You know what I mean? So you're going to have to widen that thing out a little bit for them. And what I like to do is just create a line going down with my blade, and then I'll just use my razor to define it. Yeah, I use my razor to define it.
Yeah, Andy's makes an excellent trimmer, little black trimmer. Man, what is the name of it? The Slimline, right? The Slimline. Yeah. Yes. Correct. The Andy Slimline. I have a pair of that because there's a client who, I hate to say it, little kid, I used to tap his eyebrow every time I cut his hair, and I was like, hold on, man, I got to do something about this. So I just bought a Slimline, and then I could trim up what I call baby corners. Okay, those baby corners, those are challenging. Okay, all right. So I gave him a light line, and now we're gonna get into the fading. Now I want you to notice. I'm not gonna talk too much, but I want you to notice. I have my detachable blades in order. And I want you to notice how I go from one blade to the next. I have the 5-0, the 3-0, the OA, the 1, the 1A, and the 1.5. Yeah. I'm doing a little bit of both. Okay, but mostly it's going to be up. Okay? Just starting out, honestly, I don't get into the direction that I'm going, but most of the time you are going to be fading up for the most part of the cut, but there's going to come a time when you're going to have to smooth it out by fading down. Okay, this is my OA. Maybe about half. Oh, I'm going up like almost an inch, almost. Okay.
cut. You can be cutting. Yeah. Go ahead. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. It's and that's good because like I said, just to answer your question first, it's going to depend on the length of that person's head. His head is more longer than wider. So if it was shorter, you might not go up as high because you want to leave yourself room to blend. The higher you go, the less room you have to blend, especially if it's hair length on top. Now, if it's low on top, you're almost gonna do whatever you want because it's a buzz. You know what I'm saying? You can't really go wrong with a buzz. But if it's length on top, you got to give yourself enough room to be able to blend that. So what he's saying is he don't really get into the metrics of that. But if there was a metric, I would say go up about an inch. Like he's saying now, what he's saying is he'll take once he make that first line and he's analyzing how how much length is on the top. So that tells him between the two, I need to start. This is what kind of what blade I'm gonna need. If you had a zero on the bottom and you had a half on the top, that mean in the middle you're looking at a one, you're looking at a 1A, you're looking at an OA, because you're not gonna use a half because you already used a half on top, so it ain't gonna cut that. So when it comes to blending upward, what you'll see barbers do is some barbers they'll take once they make that first line, they won't go higher than that. They'll go ahead and get that line out. That's fading up. When you make your first line, you go ahead and get that line up. Now there's no line. Now you create another one. You get that one out. Fading down is when you make a line of demarcation, then you make another one. Then you get to that top, and there's a line right here. Now you got to fade down back to where you started to get that line out, and you'll see a lot of barbers, that's the last line they get out. But see, when you blending upward, the last line you get out is at the top. When you blending down, the last line to get out is the first line you started with. So it depends on your preference. You know, now if it's longer hair on top, you might want to end up fading down because you're still trying to gauge with the client, especially if they don't know how much they want. And if you've already faded all the way up and they don't know how much they want, then it's like, man, I can't redo my fade on the side because I've already done that. But if it's longer on the top, I would suggest fade up, set you some lines where you can see I got room to blend this. Get to the top, make sure the client is happy with the length at the top, show them the mirror, whatever you need to do. And then once the top is good, you can either come back and fade up again, or you can just get the line out in reverse. Yeah. I hope that clarifies some of the, because that is a tricky thing right there. You're trying to figure out how do I start, how do I go, which one is faster, which one is, it's preference. It's still the same, yep. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. Now sometimes I would say fading down, sometimes that can get a little tricky because you end up creating more lines for yourself sometimes. Uh-huh. Yeah, uh-huh. What you got a 1A on top? Uh-huh.
Yeah, so once again, I started out with the 5-0 on the bottom. Then I went to the OA. Then I went to the 1A. And now I'm smoothing it out with right. Now, I want y'all to know when you are cutting this length of hair, usually depending on how much length is coming off, you may have to go against the grain. Anybody know why? You, why I would go against the grain? Correct. Correct. Now, he has it'll be a couple of little light spots, but they're barely noticeable. But normally, I will go against the grain. In fact, I'll do that. I'll do that just to show it. Would I use it to? Yeah, correct. Let me show you guys. So I smoothed it out with a 1.5. Now I'm gonna go against the grain because when you go against the grain, that's when you get the hair completely even. Okay, that is the reason for going against the grain. When you go against the grain, the hair is completely even. Now, you may have someone that says, I want you going against the grain. Well, that's fine, but if you want that hair cut a certain length, you may have to go against the grain. The key is you go against the grain with a big enough guard. That way, you're not going to upset the wave pattern of that particular client. Question. Uh,
The detachables are pretty much set with a closed taper. Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna say that's a true because the truth of the matter is most clippers have a taper level. Okay, like so when you put a guard on your clipper, that one guard is different lengths technically. It's a one, but one of them is a closer one of them is a lighter one. Uh, Yeah, yeah. I mean, both of them are that number. That's why I say that. Like, if it's a 1A, if it's a one on that guard, and you got a on that detachable guard, and you got a one on your guard that you would slide on like those purple guards, both of those are one. Yeah, the detachable and the separate guard are both ones. That ain't gonna change. The only difference is one got a taper level when you're using the clipper. So the reason he switched to the clipper with the guard is because he got flexibility. Because now, yeah, uh huh, yeah, yeah, to even out the blend. That's what you're saying. Okay, okay. Well, he had asked a question about the why he switched from the detachable with the same guard. Yeah, uh huh.
Now, here's the deal. A lot of clipper companies make a particular guard and there'll be different lengths. A one on the Andes is different from a one on the Oysters, different from a one on the Babyliss. That is why I teach my barber students not to learn the numbers. I don't teach them, okay, use one here, use 1.5 there. No, I teach them to visually look at the clipper guard, look at the size, and learn, okay, I see how thick these teeth are. I know that this particular guard cuts this particular length. If I tell you guys, use one here, use 1.5 there, and you get a different clipper than the one I'm using, you're gonna get confused. You're gonna say, "Damn, this is not fading like how he showed me." So make sure it's okay to learn the number, but you make sure you visually learn each clipper guard's length by looking at how thick the teeth are. Okay? Yes. Oh yeah, yeah. They fit like they was almost made. In fact, I'm gonna advise everybody in here, if you don't have it, buy the Andes magnetic, uh, double magnetic guards. Nah, double magnetic. Get the double magnetic Andes guards, because these are the best clipper guards out there. Huh? Yeah. Well, you can get them on eBay, but I'm gonna tell you the smallest one, the zero, is crazy. They don't make the same zero that they used to. Okay, so because I've been trying to find a backup zero for that guard for about a year, and I ordered it, and it's not the same size, but these still are the best clipper guards they make in the country. Okay. And this is a number one, and I have it open. Okay? Open is like that, close is like that. Open, close. Okay. Now I'm going to finish him up super quick because we running a little behind. So ask him any question you have.
The fore length, the top part, that's pulling the hair up. You know what I mean? That's pulling the hair up. This is a comb that's basically when it comes through your hair, it's lifting it. This cuts underneath it. So when the numbers on the comb represent the length of hair that's going to be lifted up and left on there after that under blade cuts it. So that's why I say no matter what, the taper level gives you room because the hair textures are different. Sometimes if the hair is softer, you'll use a 1 and it looks lower than a 1. And then you use a 1 on more coarse hair and it looks darker. So if the hair is softer, you might want to use a 2 and it'll look the same length as a 1 on somebody else's hair. So you like you say, pay attention to the total look, the hair. Get used to what the clippers, how it looks on different, textures of hair. But the numbers are the numbers. Somebody might not like what that number looked like on their hair. So that's why I tell some clients, like, you sure you want that? Yo, let me get a 1 on the side. Are you sure? Like, let me see a picture of what you wanted. You know what I mean? Because, sometimes you could tell when they asking for a certain style. You're like, I don't know, man. You might want to try 1.5 on that because this going to make you look like you bald on the side. Yeah. uh-huh. You gonna I would say first of all go with a bigger guard. The one that has more hair, go with the bigger guard. And if you can't get it out and you try a smaller guard and you notice it's cutting too much, you're either going to have to go clipper over comb or you're gonna have to go with the shear, with your thinning shears, because thinning shears can be used on any kind of hair. It ain't just straight hair or curly hair. Thinning shears, what it is like you got, depending on, some people have like a cowlick sitting in on their scalp somewhere. It could be on the side, it could be on the top, but it just so happens that you might have clients, the hair, no matter what you do, it sticks up. Certain amount, you go with a 1.5, then you try one or whatever. Even though you goes lower, that part of their hair is still sticking up. There's nothing you could do. You gotta basically freestyle trim that. You can either take your shears and do it manually, or you can get your thinning shears, which is going to be a comb that's pulling that and just cutting it uneven to make it even. That's what it does. It's like a perfect imperfectness. Because of the way that it is, you have to cut it offset to make it look like it's blended perfectly. So if anybody doesn't have thinning shears, I know for me as a barber, over the years, I used to see those in the store and be like, what's the deal with them? I even had some on my station for a long time, and I never even used them, and because I didn't understand what it was. Huh? I would say, I mean, and it also depends on the size too. Yeah, I would just say it depends on the size. It's different ones depending on the thickness of the hair. If the hair is real thin, you might not need as many. You know what I mean? But it just depends. I would say just starting out, get the ones that are kind of like in the middle, not too many of them, not too spaced out, like in the middle, and just practice with that.
One thing to remember, when you are fading, you are using the left or right corner of the blade. I'm going to say that again. Use the left or the right corner when you are blending. If you are blending using the whole width of the blade, you're going to take one line out and you're going to put another line in. This is why it took me 3 years to learn how to do a fade, because I was doing this using the whole width and I couldn't understand why my fades wasn't looking like the fades in the barber shop. So once again, use the right or left corner depending on which side of the head you are on.
Essentially, what he just said is the same thing we were talking about with the thinning shears. To make that blend you want, you almost cutting it uneven to make it look even. Because when he's turning his clipper that way, he's going against the hair that's coming off of the scalp. So all he's doing is when he looks at it, he's hitting it enough to see that shade come out, that line of demarcation come out. That's why when you see people blending, if you're looking on YouTube, they'll hit it, and sometimes they'll hit one side and it goes out fast. They hit another side and it's a little longer. That's because the hair might be thicker on that side, so it might take a little bit more hitting that side with the corner of that blade to where it's an uneven evenness. You see what I'm saying? Because if he just simply cuts it even, it's gonna make another line. You see what I'm saying? Now, if you're doing it even all over, then you ain't got no problems. Uh-huh. So he's going against it, how it's coming off, and it's almost like a freestyle. He's using the corner just to cut as much as he needs to where with the eye, you don't see no line of demarcation left in there. And as you keep doing it, you're going to start noticing, you're going to have favorite guards. When you see certain lines, you're going to say, oh, yeah, I already know what guard I need to get this out.
Holding spray, spritz. Who knows what it's for? Yes. It's close. You're close. Close. I use it. You're right. It holds the hair in place. So when you line it up, if that hair is real tight and you line it up, you get a nice crispy line.
One of the reasons that you see a lot of barbers doing that, using the spritz now, and it's funny because you say 15, 20 years ago, going to the hair shows, it wasn't, you didn't see it like that. You know what I'm saying? But you get to your, the best barber in the community that probably don't go to the hair shows, and they got all these different techniques and stuff, and you started to see as barbers started coming to the hair shows, you started to see more techniques that are done at home. But one of the key ingredients in spritz is what? Alcohol. That's all it is. Yeah. So you will see, if you see a barber putting alcohol and wiping their client down before they line them up, same thing. All you're doing is taking impurities out of the hair follicle, even on the skin, because sometimes we have oily skin. All right, you'll notice that some clients saying, "Why, man, I shaped them up. These liners is working great," but then you get the next client, the same clippers, and you can't get that line sharp like you wanted to. That client probably has oily skin. So when that clipper is hitting that skin, it's doling it out some. It's making it a little bit softer look. So if you get alcohol, it's gonna make all that straight across the board. Same thing with shampoo. When you buy a lot of shampoo, what it has? One of the key ingredients, alcohol. If you look on the back, it's stripping their hair of any dirt, oil, grime, whatever it is, and it gets your hair in better position for products and tools to operate on it at its cleanest state.
Okay, if you look real close at his scalp, you'll notice he has a little cowlick right there where it's a little light. I'm going to try to blend that in. And the way you work a cowlick is make sure you have a big enough guard and you go against the grain. Raise your hand if you've had a client with a cowlick. Okay? What happened when you went with the grain? Yep. Yes. Yes, depending on his length of his hair, you would make sure you use a guard that is big enough where you would just barely touch the length of that hair that you're cutting. You don't want a lower guard cutting into a cowlick. Start out with a big guard, and if that doesn't cut enough, then you gradually go to a smaller guard.
Back to that uneven evenness. A cowlick is automatically going to look lighter than what it really is because you're going to see it exposes the scalp. So if you use a 2 on a part of their hair that has no cowlick and one with the cowlick, the cowlick gonna look like you gapped them. Same guard length. So what he's saying is the longer the hair, you'll get it maybe just a shade a little bit darker because the longer it is, sometimes that hair will cover up some of that lightness that you're going to get from seeing that scalp. So if you start out with a longer guard, you'll be able to see that. Now, if you start out with a longer guard, I mean, of course, you don't want it to be sticking out longer than the rest of the hair, but at least you'll know, okay, you know what? This is what I need to do. This guard didn't work. Maybe I need to get some shear work done on this. Maybe I need to take my clipper, open the taper level up so it's more, the teeth are more exposed, and just kind of just graze across it until you can get it at the length that you see fit. Yep. I would say do the clipper against the grain first. That way you lifting everything up and you see everything's exposed. Ain't nobody hiding. Because one thing about when you're going with the grain, you'd be surprised there's hair under there that you don't notice. And then when you cutting it, you're assuming that, well, this is a safe way to go about it. But like you said, that's a comb. That comb is still lifting in there, and it could cut some hair, or you might have a client that has a thin spot They don't realize it because it's buried underneath some other hair. And you go in there and you end up exposing that the wrong way instead of starting with a bigger guard, lifting everything up so you can see what it is. You'll see it sometimes if you look at the videos. You'll see somebody cutting all the way around, boom, 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 lifting everything up. Then they calm it back down. Now we looking at it again. We looking at that palette again. Oh, now I see where everything is. Now I know what I need to do to achieve the look that I want. Huh? Oh yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, they both have that extra wide uh, teeth on. I mean, the edges are wider, and it's a heavier blade. Yeah, I ain't never had that. I ain't never used those. Uh huh.
All right. Normally, I would spend an extra 5 minutes detailing it, but I wanted you to get the gist of a classic ball fade. Any questions? No questions? Okay. Now we're going to do a drop fade. This is a drop fade. So bear with us as we set up. Any questions while we are waiting? Okay. Okay. Now, I chose to use my detachables and my calibers, but normally, if I was doing his cut, I would use about 80, 90% of my cut would be with this, and then 10% to detail it. Okay, I just wanted to show you guys, different techniques on using different clippers. Now, so many barbers today do not use detachables, and I blame that on the clipper companies for not promoting the benefits of using a detachable, because you can cut your time so much using a detachable clipper. It's amazing. And not only that, the fade comes in a, a lot cleaner, a lot cleaner. So if there's one thing you got from this class, try a detachable clipper. Okay? Now they're a little expensive. I think these are about $350. But trust, oh, they're more than that? Wow. Well, I was lucky. I got a barbershop special. And for my people who work in barbershop, when the guy comes in and says, hey, I got these clippers straight out the box, 120. 120. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's what we call them, crackhead deals.
Right. Right. And it was crazy because I was like, I wasn't even tripping. I was like, I'll get it. It's only 120. And then it just reminded me how good they were when I started using them. Um, yeah, I have, but not today, because no, I mean not to in today's times because ever since I picked my detachable clippers back up, I use them at least 70% of the cut. I'm gonna use a detachable because the time factor, you know, and the fact that I can use it with every hair texture that there is. You know, I especially love with my Latino clients. I have this Latino client used to take me like almost an hour and 15 minutes to cut his hair because the texture of his hair, it was so difficult for me to blend. Well, I'm not gonna say difficult. It was challenging because of his texture when I just used a regular clipper and I wanted to get it perfect. But now that I use the detachable and flathead comb, this is not a flathead comb, but everybody know what a flathead comb is? And then I pull the hair up. You know about that technique? Pull the hair up and then go across it with the flathead. That technique right there, it's an amazing technique when you're fading. I wish I had a straight hair client to show you guys, but when you have a flathead comb and you use your detachable clipper and go across it, and you could use like maybe a OA or a 1 when you are doing that technique, but that technique saves you a whole lot of time when you're fading. Okay, now Vinny is going to do a drop fade. Uh, he just yeah. Yeah. Yes, so yeah, we're gonna finish the beer, but not here. We'll do it on the floor or we'll do it outside. So once it's complete, you'll see a great cut. No, no, but shout out to Babylus. They looked out for us. Shout out to Babylus Clippers. They looked out for us today. I'm sorry. They should be. They should be. I want to give away a little gift courtesy of Babylus Clippers. Um, First person to answer gets a little gift, and it should be kind of easy. All right, tell me what the colors of a barber pole. What do they represent? Wait. The blood represents what? What color? Okay. Okay. What's the blue? Nah. Blue is a vein. And what else? Well, I can only give out one gift. Uh, Hold on. Yes. Right. So say the whole thing. Right. Correct. Correct. All right. Courtesy of Babylus Clippers. Come up here, sir. You get a FX3 professional high torque clipper. Okay. This is a really nice clipper. Yes, sir. Okay. And we're not done. This one's a little tougher. Uh, Who was the first millionaire barber? The first millionaire barber in the United States. Who? Alonzo Herden. Yes, sir. Come up here, sir. You get, come up here, man. You get the new Babyliss UV foil shaver. This is brand new. Yes, courtesy of Babyliss Clippers. I wish I had some more, but yeah, shout out to y'all. So we looking at about 19 minutes. So we're gonna have to just probably just do one side. So let me get over here. I never used them. But Babyliss makes some great clippers. So really, okay. Wow. Okay. 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 Well, maybe Beauty Supply booth has the different clippers. Okay, notice his line of demarcation. It is a lot lower. Why? Because it is a drop fade. You are dropping the line a lot lower. Okay? That's the whole purpose of a drop fade. Some clients, they do not want that high and tight. They don't want it high. They want that fade very low. And if you notice, Vinny is cutting with a classic old school trimmer that I wish I still had. What is that? What's the name of that clipper? I can't even remember the name of it, but show it to him. Oh yeah, the edger. Oh, just the edger. Andy's edger. This is, man, I wish I still had it. That's a good trimmer. If you can find one on eBay or Amazon. Yeah, that and the power in that thing is oh yeah. Yeah.
This one I did. I cut it off. 'Cause it seems like with these, once you use them a lot, they slow up. I don't know if it's the tension line or the pressure. They slow up with continuous use. So I went on to cut that out just to free that up, so I can get a little bit more consistent power.
Okay. What else?
One of the main reasons, some of the guys or ladies who like to drop fade is because they want that profile to be darker. Like your front profile. When they look, they want you to almost look like they got it even all over, but they just want the fade to be kind of like, I got a fade in the back. You know what I'm saying? And the front is dark. Well, I got a fade on the side. You ain't know I had that. That's how they want that. So you create. What I do is once I make my first drop line, I go ahead and line up that front part so I know I got to keep that dark. That's the key with the drop fade. You want to make sure that front profile stay dark at all times. So you're going to set your fade lines around that.
Okay.
Another thing, too, is if they want the drop fade to be bald on the side, you don't have to bald that right away, because you're still trying to give yourself some room to maneuver just to make sure you don't take that line too high. So you just keep that bottom real soft while you fading up, and then you can go back at the end and just bald out the bottom, around the bottom, and it's going to be just fine. Because if you take that and make this line bald right here, at the beginning, before you learn how to do it, you might get too happy with making that next line. Like you talking about the inches, you might inch yourself up a little bit way too much. You end up making a regular standard fade. So keep that bottom line real soft, and if you want to make any hard lines, do that last.
Okay. Now I'm gonna have you to just cut like you at the shop, and I'll answer any questions. And okay, that first guard, that should be a zero guard, correct? Point 0.5. See, that's what I mean, y'all. The Babyliss point 0.5 is different from the Andes, which is different from the wall. It's very confusing if you are trying to learn how to cut and you are using the numeric system. It's very confusing. So make sure instead of
But a lot of those guards, they don't really have point .5. They go straight to zero. This is technically not, it's technically not a zero. It's like in between a one and a zero.
right, right. So this is why you have to learn. Like I said before, you got to visually look at the teeth, see how thick they are, and say, okay, this teeth that I know it cuts this particular length. These clipper guards teeth, I know it cuts this particular length. You got to visually learn it instead of learning it numerically, because if you try to just learn it numerically, you will get very, very confused. What? Wait, say that again. Okay, you have the Andes detachable. Hmm. Okay. I never noticed that. Okay. Oh, you mean the clipper guards? Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. You're right. I don't know, man. Somebody needs to talk to them because, yeah, because it was perfect when they first came out, but when they switched it up, it made it harder, to fade. Actually, that's why, I've been trying to find a zero guard for that double magnetic Andes guard. Can't find it. They have it on the market, but that zero is a different length than the original zero. Yes. Okay. You can use it for any. Okay. Okay. Well, you can use it for any hair, but if it is longer hair, um, it is going to be a little more challenging, just because the power that it has. It's not a really powerful clipper for longer hair, but you can, and I have used it for longer hair. You gotta work with it more. Questions? Yes. Okay. How was my transition from a student to a how to build your clientele as a full time barber? Okay. Nowadays, building your clientele is very easy. Okay. If I was a barber today, just straight out of barber school, what I would do, I'm gonna set up my Instagram. I'm gonna make sure my Instagram is me as a barber, not me at my mother's house at a cookout. It's just straight barber page. Okay. I'm gonna have a website. If my What's your name? Tia. I'm gonna have tiathebarber.com. My Instagram at Tia the Barber. Okay. My website. I'm gonna have daily. Well, when I'm starting out, I'm gonna have daily posts of different cuts, different words of wisdom. Okay. Uh, and during the slow periods, I'm gonna go in my neighborhood, go in my little shopping center where I'm at, and I'm gonna go hand to hand with flyers. Okay. But I'm also gonna post each and every day. What city? Yeah, what city are you from? Baton Rouge. Okay. Your hashtag should be what? BR or Baton Rouge Barber? Baton Rouge Barber. You want to spell it out. Um, those hashtags are very important. And you want to use all the social media, the TikToks. You want to use the Instagram and even Facebook, you know. And then you could actually pay to have your post boost. Oh, 5, 10 minutes? Okay. You could actually pay, and that would help as well. But the main thing, like you said, is being consistent. Because I have seen a barber come to my shop. He came from Florida, no clientele. In 6 months, he was like slammed. And I was like, yo, how did you do that? And he showed me. Every slow time, he would sit in his chair and he would just post. And everybody here knows how hard it is to go from no clientele, you move to a new city, and in 6 months, your book's totally booked. And that's when I first learned the power of social media. That was in 2014. Because I was like, yo, he was having people come to our shop that lived like 35 miles away. Right. And I was like, yo, how are you doing that? And he showed me. So it can be done. You could be an average barber, but if you are good on that social media, you can really build your clientele. And that's why it is a great time to be a barber right now, y'all. It's a great time. And shout out to my man, Joe Flano, Major League Barber right there. If you don't know, he is a big influencer in the barber industry. Make sure you get his info. They've been doing it big. Major League Barber, they have barber shows throughout the country. So make sure y'all holler at him before y'all leave. But it's a great time to be a barber. Why? Because you always hear six-figure barber, six-figure barber. It's not a fantasy, y'all. You can literally be a six-figure barber. You don't have to be cutting celebrities. You can be cutting your normal clients and be a six-figure barber, you know. Now, the question comes in the hand, and this is the debate. If you want to be a six-figure barber, do you cut kids? Now, if you cut kids, do you cut them for a reduced price or do they get the same price? That's the debate. Because obviously, if I have 10 adult haircuts come in my shop, hair and beard in my shop, in my area, that's $40. If I get a kid under 12, that's $22. You know, Easter is next week. I'm going to have a bunch of $22 cuts. Now, I've been debating. I don't want to cut kids out of my base, but I've been debating whether I should go kids cuts, adults cuts, all the same. I've been debating because I know barbers that do that. Because technically, we all know kids cuts are just as hard as an adult cut. Or harder. Well, maybe not 40, maybe 35. You know, and that's the debate. You know, that's what I've been, talking to different barbers. I've been putting in my head, do I really want to, do this? Because, I could have a full day of just $22. Cutting 10 kids, and only making $220. That's right. Right. But as a new barber, as a beginning barber, I would recommend keep your prices, reduced, for kids. But yeah, that is a debate. That is a debate. All right. Hey, I want to thank y'all for coming out. I really appreciate y'all. You can find us at Barbers Only Magazine on Instagram, on YouTube, Mr. Taper's Barber Life. Check out the drop fade. You notice the blend is crazy. Notice the blend. Okay. And he just faded one side, but if you notice with the drop fade, the fade drops down. It's not high. No line of demarcation. Very nice. But I want to thank you guys. We got to clean up and get out of here. And I appreciate y'all. Oh, if you want to contact me, come up and get a business card. And I will be happy to answer any questions.